A Norm Nathan show from February 17th, 1996 graces the airwaves again with this episode. Because of the subject matter, I have titled it, Help Wanted, Guidance Given. We get a nice show open and Norm teases the upcoming guests. First will be Brandon Toropov, a job search expert. His book at the time, 303 Off-the-Wall Ways to Get a Job. He doles out resume suggestions, advice, and a whole lot of other strategies. Later on, we will talk with Mr. Scholarship Dan Cassidy, president and founder of the National Scholarship Research Service. Back then, $2.7 billion in financial aid went unclaimed. Callers for Brandon. Christine from Abbington, a caller from Canada, Laurie, Dave, and Fred. Before we get to Dan Cassidy, Norm does some sports and talks up Sunday night's guest, which was to be Rupert Holmes, writer, composer, singer, and multi-Tony Award winner. His latest project, that was airing on AMC, was a series titled Remember WENN, that's WENN. Now it's time for Mr. Scholarship. Dan talks about the many different criteria that can lead you to get a scholarship and provides a ton of information. Some reference books that were mentioned were, for undergrads now, the Scholarship Book. Then for master's, PhD, and postdoctorate folks, the Worldwide Graduate Scholarship Directory. And for you foreign students studying here, or a U.S. student looking to study abroad, we have the Worldwide College Scholarship Directory. Dan takes some calls as well. Chris in New Hampshire, Jeremy from Cambridge, Beth in Easton, and then we jump to side B, and Beth finishes out her call. Joanne in Boston, Virginia from Hyde Park, Mary in Marshfield, Glenn from Danvers, Mark in Taunton, Carol from Quincy, and Dawn in Medford. Norm does a quick station ID and we hear Jack Hart with a snowy traffic report, sponsored by New England Car Stereo's Rockin' President's Sale. Bonus time. The tape concludes with more Norm, but we walk it back to December 28th, I think 1995. Callers there were Dawn, then a birthday girl who's turning 14, Anne from Reading, and an unnamed caller. Jack returns with just a sponsor read for the Christmas tree shops, and we close with Kristen from Dorchester and yet another unnamed caller. Episode 126, Help Wanted, Guidance Given, benefits your ears now.
Just makes me glow each weekend night. He's beyond compare and so debonair. He shines so bright. Here on BZ 103. Oh, please don't turn that dial. He makes me smile. Norm Nathan Show. Norm Nathan Show. Norm Nathan Show.
Why, hello. I'm just so darn pleased with all the things that you had to do. You found time to tune us in. What a blessing that is. Thank you just so darn much. A couple of interesting guests over the first couple hours of this program. One is a man named Brandon Toropov, who is described as a job search expert, has a book called 303 Off-the-Wall Ways to Get a Job. Interesting things when you consider the downsizing of businesses and so many people being put out of work and all this, and thus so many people looking for a job. What's the best way to apply for one? Should you go about it the conventional kind of bland, dull way, or can you be a little nutty? Brandon suggests being a little bit nutty, or being unusual anyway, so that your application stands out. We'll talk with him about that in just a minute. And then later on, we'll talk with Dan Cassidy, who is president and founder of the National Scholarship Research Service. Last year, for example, $2.7 billion in private sector financial aid went unclaimed. It was all that money, and nobody claimed it. So the idea is if you're going to college and you really do need a helping financial hand, where can you find the cash to pay for college? So later on, after 1 o'clock, we'll talk with Mr. Scholarship. And I think you'll be amazed at the number of possibilities that there are available. So tonight we're doing all kinds of public service stuff. We're going to try to get you some cash for going to college, and we'll try to get you a job, or at least suggest ways that that may be quite practical. That's all coming up. I guess it depends on what the job is, or even more so, maybe who you're applying to, what kind of a personnel director or boss or something you're talking with. But you don't have to be totally straight-laced about that. The idea is to stand out in the crowd. Is that it? And how far can you go in becoming creative and individualistic so they remember you without thinking you're some kind of a wacko?
Well, you got to do a little bit of research up front. You still have to, it's probably more important these days to know the type of company you're applying to and what kind of industry pressures it faces, what sort of competitive problems there are, what new products and services are being introduced. You have to have a firm sense of that before you try and use one of the ideas that people come up with in the book. One way to look at this is that, we've had a whole bunch of downsizing over the last year or so, or a long time before that, actually. But we closed out 95 with something like 300,000 or 400,000 jobs just going out into thin air. One ramification of that is that the employment market itself is a lot more competitive now. Another ramification that we often overlook is that the people who are left behind who are doing the hiring are spread pretty thin, and they have a lot of things to do, and they don't have a lot of time to do them. And so if you had, maybe 5 or 10 seconds to get someone's attention with your resume back 5 or 10 years ago, it may be a second or two now. So you really have to make the most of that and grab someone's attention. That's what a lot of the ideas in the book are about.
Okay, when you're doing a resume, it doesn't have to be... Should it be a little offbeat, even the resume itself, and not just the usual, double space, and keep an inch border all around all four corners and all that? The resume itself, or should you submit a resume? Just call up and make an appointment to come to talk to somebody.
Well, there's a lot of people who feel that the best philosophy is not to submit a resume until you have the specifics of the position down, until you know exactly what the person is looking for in the next candidate, and then putting that material and only that material on your resume, the stuff that supports that candidacy. And I think I'd probably have to go along with that. I think the big mistake that a lot of people make when they put the resume together is that they assume that it's either a detailed personal history or a formal application for the job, and it really isn't either of those things. It's more a tool for the manager's convenience to help him or her reject you. You got to picture this poor person trying to make sense of a stack of 250 resumes, and the objective is to winnow that down to 5 or 10 candidates. Each resume that person looks at, the objective he's got is, how can I get rid of this? What can I find that doesn't match?
that is so discouraging when you phrase it that way.
But it's also it helps you keep in mind how you should structure it. The more detail you offer, the more off target you're likely to be. So it's really I think more a matter of kind of leaving some tantalizing hints and trying to encourage the person to find out more from you directly.
Now, you said something that is kind of interesting, and it's so obvious that I think I'm always surprised when people don't think of it themselves, and that is know what the job entails, know what the company does that you're applying to. Sometimes people apply and they're not really quite sure what the company does, and it seems to me senseless, And the idea, I suppose, also is to show the management there, whoever's doing the hiring, why it's important for them to hire you, what you can do for them, rather than just a whole lot of little one-liners about how wonderful you are.
Yeah. It's both of a double-edged sword here. It's some good and bad. The bad news, of course, is you're right. A lot of people do ignore that. The good news is that with just a minimal amount of work, a little bit of research, you can easily set yourself apart from the vast majority of the people you're competing with to get the job. And the way you do that is you keep an eye on the trade publications and Maybe do a search at one of the better libraries that has an electronic search database that you can check for company name within the database or recent newspaper articles. And then you try and develop that into something a little bit striking, maybe a little bit unorthodox, to grab the prospective employer's attention and focus on one of your positives. And one of the best stories in the book that does this is the lady who taped a dime to the lower right-hand corner of her cover letter, and then on the top of the letter it said, "I can turn on a dime to master your computer system." And she went into some of the details of what she could offer on the computer system. If you make that kind of specific appeal and add a little bit of humor to it, you can really do your job search quite a lot of good.
Yeah, you really reach out and grab them, and your application doesn't look like everybody else's. What about now? Do the help wanted ads in the newspaper help at all, or is it by the time they advertise, is it too late for that to be worthwhile?
Well, the advice I would give on help wanted ads is it is awfully competitive and often very difficult to just make your way through the pack on Sunday morning when everybody else gets the same ads. It's not hopeless, and it's certainly something you might want to pursue, but I wouldn't make it the main focus of my campaign. You might give 10 or 15% of your time to it if you find some particularly powerful matches with that seem applicable to your background. But in terms of using classified ads as a resource for finding out what types of jobs have been open in the past, I'd say go to the back issues, take a look at who was hiring for what, take a look at how long the hiring cycles go for. You might even be able to get a sense of what kind of turnover happens at your target company. And that's going to help you put your prospect list together. I think that's probably the most constructive use you can use for classified ads. I wouldn't spend a lot of time or put too much effort into a particular opening you see in Sunday paper, though.
Okay, now you get a list of prospects and companies you think you could help, and companies you think you would like to work for. What do you do then? Do you call first and try to make an appointment? Can you do that? Are there many companies that will actually see you with a phone call, or do you send them a note, or what?
The amazing thing, Norm, is that I found that a lot of people, once they sort of screwed their courage up and decided that the best way to try and get the process to move in their direction was to take a proactive approach. In other words, they weren't waiting for someone to get back to them about a resume. They had a whole bunch of people, not putting all the eggs in one basket. They had a whole bunch of prospects, and they would make regular calls, sometimes to very high-level people. There was one woman in the book who decided that she wanted to make a fairly rapid move into a certain field, and she decided she was going to call at between like 6:30 and 8 in the morning to her target companies on the theory that the people she reached once she got through, and she didn't get through to everybody obviously, but on the theory that when she did make it through, she'd have a better chance of reaching the heads of the organization, because a lot of the people who show up very early in the morning are the top people in the company, and that's exactly what happened. She was able to hook up with the president of the organization and able to make her appeal personally on the phone and shape her resume accordingly. So that's actually a pretty good strategy, I'd say.
Yeah, because you were suggesting that there are some who feel that you ought not to go right to the top. That was the theory before. Your theory is go right to the top. They're the people who know what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's certainly worth giving a shot to, and it's a lot easier than you might think. People in human resources and personnel, God bless them, and they fulfill a very important function for their company, and I don't want to denigrate their work at all. But they spend most of their day saying no to people. They spend most of their day putting people into the out basket and to the no file, and a CEO or a president taking a little bit different approach to things. If you can outline an opportunity more along the line of a business partnership type of appeal, show ways that you can add value to that person's organization, you'll often have very brief but very consequential telephone calls where the person will say, well, I want you to talk to so-and-so about this, or have so-and-so talk to you and set up an interview. Those types of referrals will go a lot further than something that goes through the Human Resources Department.
Let's just take a break for some commercials, and then I want to talk with you about the different kinds of ways people have applied for a job, or different ways you might suggest. interesting ways that people have applied, or that you may suggest that people applied. If you would, Brandon, I would appreciate that just so darn much.
Sure. One of my favorite stories has to do with the fellow who ordered pizza for the head honcho at the Target employer. He knew he was working late one night, and he had pizza delivered to the location. And when the guy opened up the pizza box, there on the inside of the top of the box was taped this fellow's resume.
I think that's a great idea.
Now I'm assuming that there's probably a little bit of plastic sheeting is in order before you're going to get some pepperoni or mozzarella on top of the resume there. But just as important is to do a little bit of research up front, and once you've gotten that person's jaw to drop when he opens up the box and sees what you have to offer there, you really have to address the potential problems he sees or she sees every single day, and talk about the ways you can help solve those. So a little bit of research up front combined with something like that may be able to do the trick.
And you also were suggesting a cassette tape that they can listen to when they, throw in their car.
Yeah, I think that any kind of variation like that that takes a little bit different approach, and in this case takes advantage of the fact that job people who are hiring officials commute just like the rest of us a lot of the time. I think it probably betters the odds a little bit, especially if you keep things concise and to the point, and don't go on for too terribly long, and make a direct appeal on the types of problems you can solve, or the experience you've got that bears directly on what the employer faces every day.
Yeah, and every now and then we see somebody looking for a job who's got a kind of, well, you mentioned a sandwich board, that kind of stuff, or a sign that they hold up. Does that do any good at all? Because you're aiming it at a whole lot of people. It's not really aimed at, particularly at any one person. Is that too much?
A lot of people have taken that direct approach. I don't think it's really right for everyone. There's a lot of people for whom handing out the resume in the middle of Park Street or walking around the sandwich board. There's even one lady who rented a plane and had a banner behind it. That type of thing takes a little bit of nerve to do, but it certainly has worked for some people. And if you've got especially if you've got a flair for marketing or sales or something like that, and that's the area you're trying to break into, it's hard to avoid noticing someone who goes to the extra effort like that.
Oh, I think that's nice. I was thinking of should I ever lose this job, holding up a sign saying, could you use a good all-night
I don't think you have to worry about that, Norm.
I can't. No, I would. If I were hiring, I don't think I'd hire somebody who did that. Let's take some phone calls and see what people are thinking about. Let's go to Christine, who's down in Abbington, Massachusetts. Hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
We're fine, and I know that Brandon is fine too. So I speak for both of us when I say that.
Oh, good. About your last comment, as far as people holding up signs and whatever, I would be a little hesitant to hire somebody that did something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people make that same comment, and I can certainly understand it.
That's just being a little too forward.
Yeah.
There's no need for that.
There are lots of variations on it that take the same basic approach and maybe tone it down a little bit. Depends on the type of place you're trying to get into. One fella took his resume and put it onto the back of a business card and made up hundreds of the business cards and just passed them out to everyone he met. Now, it's essentially the same idea, maybe on a little bit smaller scale, but it's the same type of approach that a good salesperson would bring to it, where he'd, at a party, just say, I'm Joe Smith, I sell computers, and if you know anybody who deals in this type of material, here's my card, and have them get in touch with me. It's basically the same idea.
Yeah, I agree, but that's kind of a different situation.
What would you
with somebody and somebody has the same interests as you do?
Yeah, what would you suggest, Christine? And are you working right now?
No, actually, I'm going to be looking for a job, and I am working, but not working what I want to do. But within a month, I'm going to be looking for a job. I was just really interested in. I was listening to the comments on the resumes, but it kind of seemed negative. Now with all the computers out and everything, and you could, I understand, you could fax your resume to say for example, 20 places, and the possibilities of somebody responding to that. I am more interested in meeting someone face to face. I would rather present myself and then present my resume.
Yeah, you made an excellent point, and it's one that actually appears in the book. There's a career counselor in there who constantly advised the people who met with him to do exactly what you just spoke about, which is to try and arrange the in-person meeting first, take notes copiously, and then shape your resume around those notes and point it toward that interview that way. And I couldn't recommend it more. It's an excellent.
Yeah, and
strategy.
I was listening to you when you said as far as like ads in the paper.
Yeah.
Like I read through the papers all the time, and you know, this person wanted for that and the other thing, but they're so they don't really describe the job or anything. So you could be calling up. You might not even be like presenting yourself to a job that doesn't even apply to you. You have no idea. You know what I mean? Like you could send them something, and it just wouldn't relate to what the kind of work you were looking for.
As a chef, who basically, to talk about a guerrilla operation here, he basically walked in the back door of the kitchen,
Right.
and sort of stepped his way in and said, "Hi, how you doing? I'm so and so. I want to show you what I can do here. Have you got such and such ingredients?" And he started making an extremely complex recipe right in front of them.
Yeah, that's weird because I have that backing of me too. Because I have cooking as well up here in Canada. It might be a big thing. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm about 3 years away from my chef papers as well. So.
Oh, is that right?
But it's tough to get a job up here in Canada. I don't know if it'd be easier down there in the States or not. I'm not sure.
Well, I couldn't tell you. I'm not. I'm really not that familiar with what the food service difference in the regional stuff is there. But I do know that you know, if you're willing to take a sort of aggressive approach with it, not you know, violating anybody's property rights and not getting into a tussle over trespassing or anything like that, but basically taking a more sort of straightforward approach to say, you know, here's what I can do.
Yeah.
It's possible to get in fairly quickly. There's another story in the book about a lady who showed up at a busy restaurant in during the middle of the lunchtime rush and simply started pouring coffee and handing out menus.
Yeah, well, so there's more to that, you know, more to the food service industry, you know, up here and down there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To just, you know, here's your donut, here's your coffee,
Yeah, right.
here's your sandwich, you know.
Well, she worked that evening shift, though, so it's...
Oh, yeah, I've done that, you know, I've done it for, you know, quite a few years. But what I want to do is really get back into the meat cutting butcher area. And I was wondering whether or not, like, to come down to the States, like, import myself. I wasn't sure if that job area was, you know...
You're talking about whether or not there's a better job market for it here?
Yeah.
I think your best bet is going to be to head to the local library and take a look at some of the trade magazines and newspapers for restaurant and food service stuff, and see how the market differs between the two regions. Off the top of my head, I really couldn't tell you what the employment demand is like compared to the two places. But if you head to the library and maybe check out some of the restaurants
going into. And so, finding is that people are telling me, what kind of experience do you have? And I have nothing that relates to what I just finished college for.
Yeah, you know, it's obviously it's a pretty common problem for recent grads. The best advice I could give you is to well, it's twofold. One is to take the best parallels you can from maybe some of your volunteer work or other jobs that you have held. And if you can, try and sort of track down verbatim endorsements or references from people. If you can lead your cover letter or your resume with a verbatim, you know, quote that points you out as whatever heights you hit while you're on the job, maybe as a part-time position or a summer position, that can sometimes be very dramatic and can work quite well. Another way to get around that is to both do a lot of research up front and find out what's going on in the industry you're trying to enter, And for every wall you hit about the type of experience you need, you might want to take that as an opportunity to show the person you're talking to about your familiarity with very late-breaking recent trends in that industry. That's always a big plus. The message you want to send is that you're basically committed to working in the industry no matter what, and that you might as well hook up with the right employer in doing so. And one of the best ways to do that is to maybe get a little bit of a beat on some aspect of a late-breaking development in the industry that maybe the decision maker doesn't even know about.
All right. Now, where do I find this kind of information?
Which industry are you trying to enter?
Well, I've been certified in computer-aided drafting.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know where to look, really.
What type of companies are you trying to work with? Like design and manufacturing?
Yeah, exactly. Anybody that manufactures or designs or architectural firms, I mean, anything.
I think you're going to need to get a little bit more specific with the types of companies you're looking for. If it's like for automobile design or product design or something like that, there's each of those industries, like consumer products or maybe the packaging industry or something along those lines. Each of those is going to have a specific trade magazine that you can track down at the library. What you've got is a specific skill interest,
right?
But you need to channel that. I'd counsel a little bit into one or more industries. In other words, if you say I'm want to work in the in the automobile industry, or whichever one you're targeting, you're going to want to get a path. You want to spend not a lot of time, but some time tracking down the best trade magazine for that in the library. And the last piece of advice I give is you pick an industry, at least initially, to focus on that excites you.
Right.
And that shows that's going to demonstrate to the prospective employer that you have a kind of fire in the belly in that area. That really does resonate, and that usually helps a lot.
Right. See, now at first I was afraid to pick one area because I didn't want to just limit myself to what if I couldn't find anything in that area.
Yeah.
And I spent all this time.
Well, I don't think you have to limit yourself, but I think you should be able to focus on the specifics of the area you're trying to get a job in.
Right.
You should be able to talk about, for instance, when if you're trying to enter the publishing field, it helps to be able to keep an eye on the things that people are obsessing about in that industry that week, like fluctuating paper prices or the big brouhaha over Joan Collins thing and the Random House case and all that sort of stuff. And if that's the industry you're watching, you should have as good an acquaintance with the late breaking news as your person that you're talking to does. So I'd say it's probably a better idea to pick one, maybe change it if it doesn't turn out to be the right one, but you should probably try and pick one and catch up on it.
Okay.
Okay, good luck.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you, Laurie. And let's go to Dave, who sent his card. Then we'll go to Fred and Kay. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Norm. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Norm, my question to your guest is regarding career changes. Now, I've been in a career for about 20 years, and went back to school and got a degree, and applied, sent resumes out to many jobs, and I just want to know what is the best routine or process to go through to get a career change, even though you've gone to school, got a degree in an area, and you don't have any experience in that area.
There's one of the stories in the book, in 303 Off-the-Wall Ways to Get a Job, tells about someone who was making just this type of transition. It's a sort of a aggressive way to go about addressing this issue, but it's one way to do it, where she basically made a guarantee to the employer, where she said, "Look, I know you want someone who's got 1 year of 3 years of experience in this area, and I don't have the 3 years of experience. But here's what I can guarantee you. Try me out for, I think it was like a week, and if you don't like what you see after the week, we'll shake hands and we won't have no love lost, and we'll or no problems, and we'll just part company. There'll be no hard feelings about it."
Yeah.
I'd say taking a direct approach to it during the interview might be worth considering.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have had coincidentally, I am in the broadcasting field. That I went for a particular job that was sort of touching on both worlds of what I do now and what I want to do. But it was, I don't know, I never heard back from the job. and I've called back a couple times and got no response back, and I know the job is still open. Should I keep responding to a particular position like that, or this particular one, or do I think that I'm dead in the water here?
Well, I think the best advice that I could pass along now is that you don't want to get too focused on one individual opening, especially if you're trying to break into a brand new field. I think the name of the game is going to be more, broadening the contact base and talking to as many people as possible within the field, and keeping a lot of different irons going and getting all the information you can about the specific positions open.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't, once you put the best effort into that one application or the one job or you're targeted the resume, probably the best approach might be to move on and find some other targets and work on them for a while too.
What part of broadcasting are you interested in, Brandon? I mean, Dave.
No, I already work in broadcasting.
Oh, you do? What part of it?
Well, I'm working.
On the air, you mean?
No, I'm behind the scenes.
Okay.
And I'm not in radio. So.
Oh, you're behind the scenes in television, I assume.
Yeah. One question is, which is better in my case? Would be a functional resume or a chronological or what?
Well, when people ask a question like that, I always feel a little bit funny trying to answer it, because the only answer I've got is going to sound like a dodge, but it really isn't. When you watch television at night or during the day, you don't see ads that have one specific format over and over and over again. The only real requirement of a good television ad is that it stop you in your tracks, and if it targets a specific audience and makes them stop and think about the product and maybe make an association about that product. And I'd say in the same way, you really have to do a little bit of research up front and find the best technique that works for you. That there's so much more than just specifically chronological or functional. Your resume is more of an advertisement, I'd say, and less of an affidavit. Your best bet is to target it specifically. If you're going for 20 different jobs, you probably should have 20 different resumes. They might all have to take completely different approaches depending on the company.
I see. Okay. All right, then that answers my question.
Okay, good luck.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye, Prof. And the author of 303 Off-the-Wall Ways to Get a Job, and some are really unique and fun.
I think that from there you might branch out to some of the boards that deal with Sweden, although there the language issue is going to be a potential obstacle. But if you check out, do just a search on the word travel, if you can track down a good Usenet search function or get somebody to show you how to use one, you'll probably be able to post some, just like bulletin board notes. It says, it outlines your situation, saying, I'm planning to travel to Sweden soon, and I'm looking for some help in making the transition and also in getting information about the food service industry out there. It's really quite surprising often what kind of response you can get to a couple of notes like that.
Yeah, I've definitely that's definitely a good direction to be pointed in. I know somebody who's familiar with the internet and help me out there.
It's quite stunning what it can turn around for you sometimes. I wish you luck with it.
Great, thanks very much.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye then.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Fred. Okay, and thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you, Norm.
Let me put a little plug in for the book. It's called 303 Off-the-Wall Ways to Get a Job. Is this generally available, or is it would it be best for somebody to send for it or call?
You can certainly find it at a Borders store or a Barnes & Noble or a B. Dalton. But if you want,
really, no kidding, you're in all the major bookstores.
All the biggies, yeah. And if you want to, you can call direct to the publisher, and that number is 1-800-955-7373 for a copy of 303 Off the Wall.
Okay, well, let me just write that down. Of the National Scholarship Research Service, and last year alone, he says, $2.7 billion in private sector financial aid went unclaimed. And they have all kinds of scholarships you can apply for, put out by various organizations, many of them dependent upon the kind of field you would like to get into. There may be a chunk of money sitting aside just for you if you want to be whatever it is, become an agronomist or a whole lot of a vet or something, veterinarian. Anyway, we'll talk with Dan Cassidy about that in just a minute. And maybe now that we're helping you get a job, maybe our next step is helping you get some money for a scholarship. All coming up right here on WBZ. They beat Sacramento 130-102. Boy, they really creamed them, didn't they? 130-102. Thank you just so much. The Boston Bruins will be in Vancouver on Saturday night, so that game starts quite late. We won't get on the air probably till about 1 a.m. or something like that. So just hang in there, and we'll get to you. I'm saying hang in there. You'd probably rather hear the hockey game. And then on Sunday night, we'll talk with Rupert Holmes, writer, composer, singer, multi-Tony Award winner. His latest project is a series that airs on the American Movie Channel. It's called Remember When. And when is spelled W-E-N-N. It's a nostalgia thing about an old-time radio. The setting is 1939 in Pittsburgh and tells the story of actors, technicians, and producers at that radio station, WENN, as they work to put their daily lineup of comedy and dramatic programs on the air. I haven't had a chance to see the show. I guess it starts, or the next episode is next Wednesday night. I can get to see that February 21st. I'd love to see that. Anyway, we'll be talking with the producer and all that, the writer, the composer, and all of that. Rupert Holmes Sunday night at 11:05. Anyway, let's talk with Dan Cassidy. Dan is the man in charge of the president, founder of National Scholarship Research Service, and you were mentioning when I was reading stuff about you, Dan, the fact that a whole lot of scholarship money goes unclaimed because I guess people don't know that it is even available.
That's absolutely right. Many students, give up because they think they're not eligible because their parents make too much money, their grades aren't good enough, the deadlines are only in May, like state and federal scholarship forms, or that they're too old. And none of that is true in the private sector, which leads the country in financial aid. Private sector being corporations, trusts, memorials, foundations, and religious groups. Some common ones you might think of would be Rotary, Lions, and Elks clubs, but there's thousands upon thousands of others that are out there, and they are going begging because nobody's applying.
Okay, you mentioned that something like this is almost unbelievable.
It is.
$2.7 billion in private sector financial aid went unclaimed. What, just this past year, you mean? Or?
Right, last year. Actually, that was done in 95, 94.
94, but that was the amount that was unclaimed in just 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I mean, so many people could use that money so badly.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, how do you get the word out to people that these scholarships are available? Because a lot of people have no idea about them.
Well, I do about 200 to 300 talk shows a year.
And you're doing one now, and so maybe this will help.
That'll help. Matter of fact, I used to do WBZ Live late night in the early 90s, so I haven't been back there for a while. But we do books with Prentice Hall, which are very popular. The scholarship book was #1 last year. It's a reference book. It sells for about $20. It's free at your library. And it's a 400-page book that refers to all the private sector scholarships for undergrads. We also do a graduate scholarship book and an international. So it's our job to track this information for high school students through postdoctorates around the world. And then if you don't feel like pawing through the books, the service does the research for you, saving you time and money. But the deal is that you really have no excuse not to do it because the books are free at your library, and you have to get involved. I think the typical scenario is that they go to the financial aid office, they get handed the federal form, which scares most students away. Parents have to pull out their taxes and deal with that, and they think they're not eligible for the reasons we just mentioned. But in the private sector, which is predominantly from individuals, people setting up funds for someone like themselves, it's a whole new ballgame, and many scholarships are based on many things about you that you wouldn't even think of.
Like what, for example? You have a list here, and at least I have a list, your list, of the 10 most unusual scholarships.
Well, there are some bizarre ones. About 5% of the 230,000 scholarships we're tracking around the world are kind of unique. We have some new ones for you tonight, but there's scholarships for being left-handed. If you go to Harvard and your last name's Anderson, Baxendale, Borden, Bright, Downer, Penoy, or Murphy, there's a scholarship. If you go to Yale, my alma mater, there's one if your last name's DeForest or Leavenworth. If you go to North Carolina State and your last name's Gatlin or Gatling, there's $28,000 set up by the family of the inventor of the Gatling gun. Some new ones that I have, besides some of the many others that are out there, there's scholarships, for example, if you're a twin, the second twin goes for free. And there's a scholarship if you're short in stature from Billy Barty, the actor. He has a foundation. You must be under 4'10". And here's a new one that's in your backyard out of Boston. It's the New England chapter of the NAAFA, and that stands for the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. So, yes, you have to be overweight to apply for their scholarship. So I think the best way I could put it to everyone listening is, what would you do if you were to set up a scholarship and you start to see how diverse this really is?
Okay, because you have one other one here that I thought was kind of funny. This was the LSB Leakey Foundation offers a fellowship, you write, of up to $40,000 to promote long-term research on wild great ape populations. I remember Dr. Leakey, who was very, very much involved in all of that, and he wouldn't probably appreciate the fact that we're giggling about that, but that is one of the oddball kind of scholarships among all the others that you mentioned that people are totally unaware of.
That's right. And even your common scholarships, like Rotary, Lions, and Elks, are having trouble because students are not applying. They're walking away disgruntled from the federal forums and thinking they're not eligible, so they don't even take the second step. Now, of course, an important step you don't want to miss is endowments from alumni, which are just like private sector scholarships, but they're tied to your school, and those come in every year from alums, and those are listed right in your college catalog, and you want to be sure to check those out at your financial aid office. And, of course, Harvard is the #1 endowed university in the country at $5.7 billion. They raised over $221 million last year from alums. Not all that money buys microscopes and buildings. About 15% of it winds up in the scholarship arena.
You know what? Tell us the name again of the book that people should look for that you put out that lists all of this.
Sure. Well, I've been over to the Crimson and the Harvard bookstore. They are there. They're, of course, at your library, again, for free. The scholarship book is for undergrads. The worldwide graduate scholarship directories for master's, PhD, and postdoc. And then my favorite, the worldwide college scholarship directory. If you're a foreign student studying in this country, or if you're a student who would like to study abroad, what a better place to study art than Rome or Paris. That's the international book, and it'll lead you to scholarships from all these corporations and foundations around the world. We're presently tracking $34 billion worldwide in private sector philanthropy, and of that money, $2.7 billion went unused because nobody applied, not because no one qualified. And to put that in perspective with the government, the feds come in at about $25 billion, and the states, surprisingly combined, only come in at $2 billion. So the private sector is #1 at 55% of the U.S. educational funding. Its problem is it lacks organization, and there is no system as of yet, which I'm working on, to put student and scholarship source together.
Okay, so you're talking 3 books now. The Worldwide Scholarship, I just put that on there.
That's right. Worldwide College Scholarship Directory.
Yeah, and the Worldwide Scholarship Directory?
Graduate Scholarship Directory.
Oh, graduate, okay.
Right.
Okay, and the third one was what?
The scholarship book. That's the most popular with Prentice Hall. I think last year it did about 50,000 copies. Mostly your counselors are picking them up, and your library, and many students, of course, but it's a very simple book to use to find 20 to 30 private sector scholarships that you are eligible for that you probably didn't even know about. Many things about you come into play for a scholarship, even your ancestry, religion, county in which you're born and reside. You have scholarships tied to Hampton, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire counties. Even your parents' union or corporate affiliation, or just the field you're going into, can lead you to a scholarship. And actually, Massachusetts has quite a few unusual ones.
Why don't we talk about that just a minute or two? And also, if it's okay with you, Dan will open the lines for people who'd like to call and ask you about these things. Is that okay with you?
You bet. Give me your field of study and get your pencil ready. I'll give you a source, get you going in the right direction.
Hey, that's lovely, Dan. Thanks a lot. 617-254-1030. 617, the area code of Boston, 254-1030. And we'll start taking calls in just a minute. Let's take a few phone calls, okay, Dan?
Sounds great.
Okay, here's Chris, who's up in New Hampshire. Hi, Chris.
Good morning. How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
Fine, thank you.
Great. I have a question for you. I currently attend a one-year certificate 900-hour course in Massachusetts for computers. It's PC networking technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And I have about 2.5 months left to go. And I was wondering, I have federal financial aid. Is there any way that I could apply for any of these scholarships to help compensate for that?
Okay. Did you take any loans?
I took 2 student loans.
Okay. And then you only have 2.5 months left.
Yep. And
Okay.
The other stickler is I still work 62 hours a week between 2 jobs.
Ooh.
Right.
The only way I could afford to go to school is if I kept my both jobs.
Okay. Well, in the private sector, the scholarships require you to attend an accredited institution and take at least 2 classes or 6 units. So it even works for the part-time student. Now, the inside timing of getting a scholarship is 2 months, and the outside is 6. So you're just making it if you wanted to hustle and see what's out there. One source I have for you would be probably the source for computer science. It's called the Directory in Computer Sciences. You got a pencil?
Yep.
Okay. Give them a shot and see what happens. You are kind of pressing it with 2.5 months because it is 2 to 6. But it's worth a deal looking into because who knows, you might go on to graduate school at box 64145. That's 64145. And the Directory in Computer Sciences is in Baltimore. Zip code there is 21264. That's 21264.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, very much.
You're very welcome.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Good luck to you, Chris.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go to Jeremy in Cambridge. Our number, by the way, 617-254-1030. Jeremy, hi. Welcome to WBZ and Dan Cassidy.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Dan. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Great.
Dan, here, I got a question for you. You talked a lot about college scholarships and graduate school scholarships. I'm a first-year law student, and I have 2 basic questions for you. What do you have in the way of general scholarships for law students who do not qualify for, financial aid from the schools based on need,
Right.
But who definitely could use some help defraying or actually $34,000 a year in tuition and living expenses? And second of all, what about summer work that's in the public interest area in the law that doesn't pay, but sometimes there's some private funding sources, I believe, but I just kind of need to get a hold of some of them.
Like a governmental internship?
Yeah, like a U.S. Attorney's Office.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff for that. Law students are faced with many more loans in the private sector than any other field of study. But I always say not to worry because not every scholarship you're eligible for is based on your field, and in yours being law, there's many other things about you that come into play.
Right.
So that's one thing to keep in mind because you will see many more loans even from the private sector. But many of your companies that produce the books for you guys and the law firms that are very large and popular all have scholarships set aside for you to get involved in. Have you ever checked out a book called Barron's Guide to Law Schools?
I saw it when I was applying, but I didn't really look at it in terms of scholarships.
Okay. Barron's pretty much fills the reference section of your favorite bookstore, and they put one out for law schools and medical schools. You might check that out next time you're at the mall and go to the bookstore and see what you have there. For the internships, the American Political Science Association keeps track of all those.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and you can write to them. And here's their address. It's 1527 New Hampshire Avenue,
Washington, D.C.
You got it. Matter of fact, I go to Washington every summer. It's just crawling with youth and interns.
Yeah, what's the zip code there?
20036.
Right.
And then here's another book for you from Nolo Press called 29 Reasons Not to Go to Law School. This book could save you 3 years, $70,000, and your sanity.
I appreciate it, Dan.
All right.
That's
You're
fun.
fantastic. I was really thrilled to hear about the $2.7 billion that's unused. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I had the Grand Lodge call the other day with $100,000 they couldn't give away. I'm talking to you from the wine country of Sonoma, Napa, California, where 4-H, future farmers in an agricultural setting, couldn't give away $400,000 last year. And here's a beaut. There's $500,000 at UC Berkeley for a Jewish orphan in aeronautical sciences. It's never been claimed, sitting there accruing interest.
Wow.
Accruing interest at $50,000 a year.
As long as I got home, let me ask you one other question, because you just mentioned something about Jewish philanthropies. I'm Jewish, and is it true that Jewish philanthropies are really among the most generous out there?
You bet. As a matter of fact, philanthropy in general in this country is alive and well. It's tripled in the last 10 years. It's up to a whopping $176 billion. It increases 10 to 20% per year. They are based on religion and many other things. But here's what I find interesting, and this may answer your question. Philanthropy in this country is not Ford, Rockefeller, and Kellogg's. 83% of the $176 billion is from individuals.
Wow. That's
People
amazing.
setting up funds for someone like themselves.
That's amazing.
Yeah, wanting to do good. That's what it's all about.
That's great.
What about a left-handed Jewish orphan who wants to major in agriculture?
Well, you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of it.
I think that's great. Hey, Jeremy, thank you for calling.
I appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Beth in the town of Easton. How you doing, Beth?
Hi, Norm. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
I'm an older student, and my major is healthcare administration.
Okay. Norval started school late in life, which he did at Purdue. His application is in my hand. It's only one page, double-sided. That's a good point here, folks. It's not like the federal forms. These are very simple to do. And I'll give you Orville's address, and I have one a little more serious for you.
Okay.
Second start, you must be over 30. That is it. At box 39101. That's 39101 in Chicago. Zip code there is 60639. That's 60639. And for you, a organization which is having trouble getting students to apply, the national group is the Business and Professional Women's Foundation, with over 2,000 scholarships. Some cases you must be over 25, and some cases 35 years of age. The B&P Foundation, Business and Professional Women's Foundation, also has scholarships for single moms who are listening. And you can write to them at 2012 Massachusetts Avenue. That's 2012 Mass Ave, Northwest NW in Washington, D.C. Zip code there is 20036. That's 20036. And why don't you treat yourself next time you're at the library, go to the reference section and look up the Directory of Financial Aid for Women by Gail Schlachter, Schlacter. The book boasts $21 billion in funding for women only. And for other listeners, Gail does a book also for the military and their families, the disabled and their families, and she does one for minorities.
I wish I had heard about this a little bit sooner. I have a daughter who's a senior in college also. And
She going to grad school?
Pardon me?
She going to grad school?
Well, she hopes to work for a while first until she knows what she wants to get her master's in.
Okay, well, when you're at the library, look at the graduate scholarship directory for her, too.
Okay, she will probably be marine biology.
Ooh, you know what? I got a great source that's in your state. The beauty of this place, and I don't know how many people have heard about it, it's called Earthwatch Expeditions. Now, what they do is you spend time with a scientist in marine biology, archaeology, anthropology, and archaeology, and you earn credit. And so you could be at Stonehenge, or in your case out there with Jacques Cousteau, but they also give scholarships. They're given 200 scholarships at $2,000 each. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but they're usually renewable up to 4 years, so you got $8,000. Earthwatch Expeditions in Watertown.
Okay.
And their deadline's coming up, March 31st. That's another good point I haven't mentioned. Deadlines are every day you get up. There's over 31,000 deadlines this month alone, 41,000 next month, and you'll probably be eligible for 20 to 30 of those throughout the year, so you'll only be filling out 1 or 2 forms a month. Earthwatch Expeditions is located at Box 403 in Watertown, and zip code 02172. That's 02172. I'm surprised these guys haven't been on the Discovery Channel yet.
Well, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I've been following them in the magazines and stuff, and the more you talk, Dan, and the more you mention some of these things, the more I wish I were about 50 years younger. There's so many things I would have liked to have taken advantage of. That Earthwatch thing is absolutely fascinating.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be great.
I'll tell you, Norm, it's never too late to go.
Well, that's right. We have scholarships for lifelong learning. We have one, you must be over 60.
Really? We'll have to ask you about that one later on.
Usually you can get free tuition if you're over 65.
That's right.
At most of the colleges.
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Hey.
You're all set, Norm.
I'm ready to learn.
He's going to Harvard.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for the information.
Hey, thanks for calling,
All right.
Ben.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, 617-254-1030. This is just lovely. I did talk to you before. When you said you were on WBZ, that was with me, or maybe with somebody else too, but you were with me also. And I remember how, at that time, too, every line lit up and how tremendously knowledgeable you are about every facet of this scholarship business, you know? I mean, they say, what about the people who want to put shoelaces in shoes or something? And you come up with the answer right away.
Yeah, that's fun. It is a fun job. But, you know, if you do anything, the same thing for 16 years, you get a little bit good at it. So, but, you know, it's funny you brought the shoelace one up because there's the shoe suppliers. Anybody involved in the footwear industry has a scholarship, and they're in Massachusetts also.
No kidding.
They're over in East Bridgewater.
Is that right? Okay. And the people who call again, and those of you even who are not calling but are interested in scholarships, when Dan brings up some address or gives you address to write to, just be sure to have a pen or pencil handy and stuff to write it down, because you're giving some great advice and some great sources. Let's go to Joanne in Boston. Joanne, you're on WBZ. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Basically, opening up for WENN. My husband is actually the one who's applying to medical schools.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I going to say?
You want an enology scholarship for winemaking.
What was that?
You want an enology scholarship for winemaking.
Enology for winemaking?
Yeah, there's one at UC Davis.
Okay. No, for medical school.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
He's over 30, and I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, what might be a resource. I didn't get the address for the Orville Redenbacher one.
Oh, let's give you that again, because, you know, Orville just recently passed away, and I will be doing some shows on Tom Snyder with his son. But it's a wonderful scholarship, and it's very simple to fill out, and I'm hoping to hear from people that get it. Orville's address for Second Start, you must be over 30, and that is it, is Box 39101. That's 39101 in Chicago.
Yeah.
And the zip code 60639. Now, here's the key to Orville's application.
Okay.
He wants you to, in 500 words or fewer, please explain how a college education will cultivate your entrepreneurial spirit, enabling you to make a second start in life. And that's very simple to do because, you know, you have to do an essay to get into school. You have to do an essay to get scholarships. But all you have to do is change the last paragraph or two of your essay you've already done to fit what Orville's looking for. That makes it very simple.
All right.
All right. Now, he's starting medical school?
Yes.
Okay. The National Health Council has a whole booklet on scholarships, and you can write to them at 1730 M Street, as in Mary, 1730 M Street, and that's Suite 500, Washington, D.C., 20036. That's 20036. You'll find many of these organizations are in Washington or Virginia or Maryland to keep track of what's going on the Hill, but by all means, Boston is the hub of philanthropy, if not college education.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so check out that booklet, though.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Even for the Boston area.
Oh, yeah, the beauty of the private sector is since they are so far removed from the funding source, these people have decided not to give their money to a school, but to give it directly to you, the student. They rely on two things, that you fit the criteria and that you attend an accredited institution and take at least 2 classes, so 3 things.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right, very good. Any advice on internships or anything in advance of getting into the schools, or?
Well, you know, he's going to intern after he gets his MD.
Well, this is kind of like beforehand, this kind of experience type of thing.
Oh, okay, because I went to UC Med in San Francisco, and the kind of things you could do is work at the emergency room as a volunteer. The internship matching program is a program, actually, I worked on, which gave me the idea to do the scholarship program, and that matches MDs to hospitals for their internship, and that's still in place today.
Okay, and how do you get in touch with that?
Right at your med school.
Okay, all right.
Take some calls because a lot of people want to talk to you, Dan, including Virginia in Hyde Park. Hi, Virginia.
Hi, Norm. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, thank you.
First time call. I'm inspired because I hear Dan and I want some information for a friend.
You came to the right place there.
This 18-year-old young lady, my family's trying to help her out. She is an Indian descent. She wants to go into communications. She did one semester at Mount Ida and ran out of money. So she's just got a job and we're helping her out, but she wants to get back into school.
Sounds good to me. Let's approach this at 2 points. Now, Native American scholarships go all the way down to 1/16th. And the best way to find out about those is the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's their phone number, 202
002
208
208
and that's 3711.
3711. I didn't get the first three numbers there.
It's 202.
Okay.
Okay, 202 208 3711. And again, scholarships for Native Americans go all the way down to 1/16th. Now, for telecommunications, journalism, and broadcasting, and maybe, Tony, you want to get these for the interns at WBZ. It's a book put out by Dow Jones. It's called Dow Jones Scholarship Guide. And Dow Jones found that scholarships were not only a great tax write-off and good public relations, but a great way to draw students toward their industry. Some of their scholarships up to $20,000 even require that you work for them for 2 years after you graduate, so you might even have a job to boot. Before I give their address, the scholarship guide from Dow Jones, they even have one for minorities, and here they are. It's Box 300, Princeton, New Jersey. Box 300, Princeton, New Jersey, and the zip code's 08543. That's 08543. You got interns over there, don't you?
Oh, we do? No, well, mostly on the television side.
Right.
But we have some on the radio side, too, yes.
Beautiful studios over there, folks.
Oh, they're building new ones all the time, I tell you. They really are. There's a whole new wing to the place.
I've done them all. You're in the top 10.
Okay, yeah. That's great. Okay, you all set, Virginia?
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye now. No, the studios are really beautiful, yeah. Let's go to Mary in Marshfield. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
I wanted to ask Dan. I have an 18-year-old son who's just been accepted to a college of music.
Oh, good.
And he is primarily interested in composing. Is there anything available out there for him?
You bet. You know, the beauty of the arts is not only are you eligible for scholarships, fellowships, grants, and loans, especially from the private sector, but you also can submit your work for contests, festivals, and awards, so it kind of makes it a fun, competitive thing. And the people that have put all this together, it's called, now you don't need to write this down, this is just the name of the group, it's called the Music Educators National Conference. What you do want to write down is the name of their booklet, and that's the Music Scholarship Guide, and it is free.
Music Scholarship Guide.
And they're located at 1902 Association Drive, that's 1902 Association Drive, in Reston, R-E-S-T-O-N, Reston, Virginia, and the zip code there is 22091. That's 22091.
What school is he talking about? Is that the Berkeley College?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good luck to him. It's a good school.
Yeah. Yes, he's really looking forward to it.
Oh, that's
but
wonderful.
It's expensive.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Tony, you may know Jim Eason of KGO out here in San Francisco. You heard of him?
Yeah, my name is Norm, by the way. You've been in contact with Tony Nesbitt, who does a lot of the booking for the show, but I'm Norm Nathan.
Okay. Yeah, his son went there for a graduate degree in jazz. And
I'm sorry. Tell me the name of that school again.
The Berkeley.
Oh, we're back to the Berkeley College.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but do check that out. The Music Educators National Conference is wonderful.
Okay, now the other thing, do you have a telephone number that your service can be reached at in case I had any more questions?
Sure. It's a 24-hour number, and we have the books here if you have trouble getting them.
Okay.
And the information is very informative and, of course, free. If you use the service, though, there is a fee. The books are about $20+ bucks. The service is around $75. A little pricey, but it saves you time.
Okay.
It's 1-800-546-6089. That's 1-800-546-6089. And again, it's a 24-hour number, and we even have a tip sheet for you. So if you phone it, you can get that and get you going in the right direction.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, let's go to, and again, 617-254-1030. Glenn in Danvers, Massachusetts. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Very good.
I'm another one of those late starting students. I want to make sure I get the second start address right.
Okay.
I got P.O. Box 39101.
Yep.
Chicago.
Right.
63909.
60639.
60639.
That's right.
That's what I get for writing in the dark.
And guess what? You are no longer the minority. You're part of the most popular age group. Right now, 1 out of 2 students are over the age of 25.
No, I'm even further over than that.
Okay.
I'm going for computer science, and I've been accepted into a school in the Midwest, even though I'm from Danvers. I was wondering if you had anything concerning Midwestern associations.
Well, actually, most of these groups I'm giving tonight are national. You don't have to always get a scholarship from a local group by any means. They can, you can go to any school as long as it's accredited. What's the school you're going to again?
Iowa State University.
Okay, Iowa State. Let's see what we have here. The American Federation of Information Processing. American Federation of Information Processing is located at 1815 North, let's see, where'd it go? North Lynn Street, Lynn. And they're in Arlington, Virginia. And zip code there is 22209. That's 22209.
All right. Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed listening to this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Glenn.
Good night, Norm.
Good luck to you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Norm, I got it right here. Last show we did together was September 6th, 1991.
Was it that far back?
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry I called you, Tony. It's late out here,
No, that's okay. No, I work closely with Tony, and Tony is the guy that you would have talked to originally.
Right.
That's natural. No, that's perfectly okay. Let's go to, and because I do remember when you were on before, and it just came back to me, the lines like then are like now. Everybody wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Including Mark. This is Mark in Taunton, Massachusetts. Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Norm?
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Question. Do these types of grants and scholarships, do they go towards trade schools as well as colleges?
You bet. As a matter of fact, if the school's accredited, it's just as eligible, whether it's a 2-year college, 4-year college, or Voc Tech school.
Oh, great. Okay, well, here's the scenario. I'm calling actually for my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She's 34, heavy-set, left-handed single mother.
Now he's thinking private sector-wise, and he's picking all the unusual ones.
Well, you take what fits, I guess.
Sure. What's her field?
She wants to get into cosmetology.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's start out with the Vocational Technical Organization. It's the National Association of Trade and Technical Schools. And then I'll get you something for cosmetology. National Association of Trade and Technical Schools, and they're located at 2251 Wisconsin Avenue. That's 2251 Wisconsin Avenue in Washington, D.C. And the zip code there is 20007. That's 20007. And there is an association of cosmetology in Falls Church, Virginia. Association of Cosmetology at 5201 Leesburg, Leesburg Pike. And that's Suite 205. In Falls Church, Virginia, zip code there is 22007. 22041. That's 22041. And when you start thinking of private sector organizations in the cosmetology field, they're all around her. Helen Reddy, you name it.
Oh, excellent. You said that was Falls Church?
That's right.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And good luck to you and your, heavy, overweight, left-handed girlfriend?
Single.
That's it. Single mother.
Single mother. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye. Good luck to her. I hope she wasn't listening to him saying that. Carol in Quincy. Hi, Carol. You're on WBZ with Dan, who's in the warm climates of California.
Oh, I envy him.
Right, no, me too.
No, we're great fans of yours. Thanks for having me on for a question tonight. Dan, I'm hoping to get a little bit of help from my brother. He's Canadian. He's from Nova Scotia. He's interested in videography, in film.
Oh, yes.
Is there some hope there?
Oh, yes. Matter of fact, I would say behind the U.S. would be Canada, number 2 for private sector scholarships, then the U.K.
Really?
And in my books, I have all the Canadian scholarships tied there. But for film and video, I mean, look at celebrities that give scholarships for that. Eddie Murphy has one with Paramount Pictures for $25,000.
Wow.
Spike Lee has one with Columbia. And where you want to write to is the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. They put out an entire booklet on film and video festivals and awards. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts / Educational Services. Okay. And no street address is needed.
Yeah.
And Washington, D.C. And the zip code there is 20566. That's 20566.
That's so helpful, Dan. And speaking of philanthropy, it's a wonderful service that you provide.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a big help.
All right.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful to you, Carol. Yeah, you are. You're incredible the way you come up with all these things.
Well, you know, she mentions Canada. Canada has a centralized private sector scholarship disbursement system, and we just got a grant from an anonymous donor to put that in this country under our new nonprofit called the Endowment for Education. So hopefully we'll solve this paper chase.
Okay. I think we'll have time for maybe just one more call, and that's Dawn, who's in Medford. Dawn, you're on WBZ with Dan Cassidy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just finished my undergraduate as an education major at Northeastern, and in looking towards going to my graduate degree, I can't afford it anymore.
Right. Well, you know, there isn't a grad student walking that hasn't some form of fellowship or scholarship under his or her belt.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Because Mom and Dad aren't helping anymore, right?
No, they gave up a long time ago.
Okay. You want to write to the people who are very popular who handle the Fulbright, which is the teaching abroad, but they handle many others, and you can just write IIE for short. It stands for the Institute of International Education. IIE is located at 809 United Nations Plaza. That's 809 United Nations Plaza, New York, New York. And the zip code there is 10017. That's 10017.
Okay. Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good night now.
You too, Dawn. Thank you very, very much.
Now,
hold on a second.
Celebrate.
For more information, you're suggesting people call 1-800-546-6089. Is that correct?
You got it. Have a great 3-day weekend.
Okay, you too, Dan.
All right, Norm.
Thanks a million. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Dan Cassidy, who is the president and founder of the National Scholarship Research Service, and just knows more about that than anything. We're going to have him back on again soon. So the past couple hours have been kind of nice. We've been learning about how to apply for jobs, how to get scholarships. WBZ Boston.
Socked with snow. This report brought to you by New England Car Stereo's Rockin' President's Sale. Taking a look at traffic on area roadways, we're seeing quite a bit of snow coming down once again. Visibility is getting down to just about nil in many areas, and roadways are once again slickening up. Speeds on the Mass Pike officially down to 40 miles an hour the entire length, but speeds of about 30 miles an hour are most appropriate according to the BZ Cellular One phone force. We are dealing with very slippery surfaces, 128, 495, Route Route 93. All very treacherous. Minor spin-out situations have been occurring throughout the overnight. Drive with extreme care. Expressway northbound and southbound. Watch out for the other traveler, as you should on the lower deck of Route 93 and the Tobin Bridge heading into the city. I'm Jack Hart, WBZ 24-Hour Traffic Network.
Now save 20 to 60% on car stereos, cellular phones, pagers, accessories, and more. Plus, get a free NEC Sport.
When I was on Springfield for a year, and I was watching Rockford File. They made a movie, and Noah Beery passed away, and they said he was the last of the sidekicks in the westerns to pass on.
You know, he was in one of the. When I was a kid, he was in a serial. Those like 13-week things that they used to appear in the movie theater Saturday afternoons. The serials.
Yes.
And he was Tarzan in one series. I remember him so well. Noah Beery. I mean, that's back like in, wow, that would be the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, they never, is there any station like the American Movie? The American Movie Channel, they must play some of those old serials. Do they? I know they do the old previews and things as well as the movies.
Saturday morning they were playing. My nephew turned one on. I'm collecting serials. I've got a few of them. Republic Pictures has been reorganized by Aaron Spelling, and he's selling those serials in 2-tape forms. They're 3 or 4 hours, and some are condensed into movie features, and others are serials with the cliffhangers at the end. In says insert reel chapter 2. It's got the whole thing on it.
Oh, I think that's great. No, because the cliffhangers were the ones that we used to see. You know, somebody's just about ready to fall over a cliff or get hit by a train, and it looked like there was no way they could get out of it, and you had to come back the next week, and somehow they did manage to get out of it.
Well, usually with the car scene, if we're going to crash and the car goes over the cliff, it's usually usually take an old car and push it over, or they take a toy car and make it go over. And the next time they go back a little before, they say the brakes are out, let's jump. And they pan to the left side, but the left side of the car, which they didn't the week before, and they fall out into the side of the road as it goes around the corner.
Sometimes the solutions get to be stupid. They're kind of childish, so it's so obvious. But we bought it. What do we know? We weren't terribly sophisticated back in those days. Hey, we're coming up to news time, and I know how important it is for you to be informed. So I want to thank you very much for the call, Don.
Have a good evening, Ron. Have a nice holiday.
Hey, thank you very much, Don. You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Your mom has the exact time you were born and everything down. But we can call this whole day your birthday, December 28th. Do you have big plans for the day?
I'm going to have a party with my friends, and we're going to go see a movie.
Yeah, what are you going to see?
Waiting to Exhale.
Oh, I heard that was quite a good movie. And you're on vacation, of course, this week. School is down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what school do you go to?
Brooks School in Lincoln.
Oh, that's a private school. Good school. You get good marks? You must be a good student.
Yeah.
You are, okay. What do you like best of all? What do you I know you must think about the future and stuff. Anything special you like to do?
I don't know, maybe become a producer.
A producer of what? Radio? Would you be a producer of this program, or is that too menial a job?
I don't know, maybe.
I wish you had said, no, that's not too menial a job. That's a big, giant job. I hope I'm up to it. Anyway, I wish you the very, very best. I hope today turns out to be great. What time is the party?
At 5.
Okay, so you have to get some sleep now, so you'll be wide awake for that. And then you're going to the movie after that, or after that, I guess, huh?
Uh-huh.
Again, happy birthday to you. I'm pleased to talk with you, and I wish you the very, very best. And I hope the rest of your vacation is great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
No, you are great. Have a nice one now.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now, Emma. Bye-bye. That's sweet. 14 years old. Remember when you were 14? Let me think back to when I was 14. I was glad to turn 15. I thought 15, I was kind of 15 was a good year. I think 16, you felt like maybe you were almost a man. 14, you were still a kid, kind of on the brink. And anyway, I'll discuss that with you some other time. Well, let me talk with Ann in North Reading. Hi, Ann. About every other horse you ever saw, but she's got a little white...
on her face?
Well, yeah, a little triangle on her forehead.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen a million horses that look like that. She's quite an old horse, but she's kept in good shape. I have this young woman, Shanna Holland, who comes out from Dorchester, who takes care of her in exchange for, for the chance for riding her. No, she's boarded at my own house.
Oh, I see.
So we don't board her any place. She's right there.
Yeah.
We have our own paddock and little shed and stuff where she lives.
Yeah.
And Shanna also has the whole gang of kids there every day as other people. When Shanna's there, she's teaching them how to ride and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of always a mob scene at my house. But the horse is lovely, and I'm sure I'll be able to introduce it to you one day.
And she's friendly.
Yes, she's very friendly. Yeah, she's too old to be unfriendly, actually.
Does she have all her teeth?
Her teeth are in pretty good shape. Yeah, we have the vet look at her very often, and she has new shoes put on all the time. And in fact, we even have a masseur or a masseuse come and massage her because the legs of older people, and I know you don't know this, but
yes, I do.
They tend to get a little shaky and achy and all that kind of stuff, and that's true of animals as well as people.
Have you ever had a chiropractor?
For the horse?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure Shauna one day will think of that.
Well, I'll tell you something. I have a chiropractor that stands about 4'11", who has very healing hands, and she raises horses.
And does she practice she does chiropractic on the horses?
Only on her own horses.
Does
and
she? Yeah.
Anyone, I guess, that asks her. Also on her patients' pets.
No kidding. It's interesting, the different occupations you never thought of. And that's one of them.
She's special.
Okay, because this was a masseuse.
Yeah.
And he's away for a little while, so we have a masseur, rather.
Yeah.
And we have a masseuse now because he's away for a while, so this woman does this.
Yeah.
But he specializes in children and horses, which is...
I like that.
And I never would have thought about that, but
that's pretty eclectic.
It is pretty eclectic. That's right too. That's about as cool and hip and awesome as you can get.
Wow. Now, can we jump from the horse to your chickens?
We can jump from the horse to his. I have come closer. I have one chicken left.
It's a hen.
It's a hen. Yes.
Can you think back to when you had more than one hen?
Yeah.
And they were laying hens, right?
Yep.
All right. How long can an egg stay unrefrigerated before you can't use it?
I don't know. I on a bad day, when I couldn't get out to the hen house to pick up the eggs, I would leave it there for maybe an extra day, but I try not to leave it there even that long. I wouldn't... It depends on the weather too. I mean, if it's a really hot summer day, you need less time. In the wintertime, of course, in the wintertime they don't lay eggs. In the really cold weather, they only lay them. In fact, one of the first signs of spring is when the hens start to lay again.
No. The first signs of spring are what captured my heart. The peepers.
No, I realize that, but there are a number of
chickens.
No, there are a number of signs of spring, but one of the signs that I didn't usually mention because we talked about spring peepers so much, is when the hens start laying again, and actually they lay earlier than when the peepers come. Peepers come the end of March, around April 1st, and the hens start laying usually around the middle of February, the end of February. That's which is a great sign to indicate spring is just around the corner.
Well, now, does this hen still lay?
No, if she does, I don't know where she's laying the egg. She's an old hen, and she's loose, and she's protected by the dogs that roam around with her.
Is she friendly?
Yeah, she acts like she's one of the dogs or one of the cats. She lives with them, and they hang out together, all of them, and she hangs out with the horse, too.
Good. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have two Newfoundlands.
Newfies?
Newfies, yeah. The big dogs.
Oh, yeah. Are they both big?
Yes, they are. One is particularly big. I've had St. Bernards in the past that have been bigger,
Yeah.
but they're pretty big. 160, 170 pounds, something like that.
Newfies are neat.
They're about the sweetest dogs you'd ever want to own. They're great dogs. I love these two.
Do they drool?
No, not particularly.
St. Bernards drool.
Some of them do. I've had St. Bernards that haven't drooled that much. I know they have a reputation for that, but the St. Bernards I've owned have not. That was never a big problem.
Well, I have a Boston Terrier.
Oh, you have a little guy.
Well, she's a little gal who is prone to panic attacks.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe there's a dog psychiatrist. I'm sure there would be someplace you could take it to.
No way.
Okay.
No, I do have to get to the library and get a book. I spoke with the vet. He's mainly for horses and big animals. But he said, well, there's some medication you can give them. I'd like to go the natural route. What I do when she has them, I can anticipate them. Any changes that she can't deal with. So there's something in their throat, I've been told. So you rub their throat and hold them, but they go rigid, or she does, like she's having an epileptic seizure, and she snorts.
Maybe she thinks she's a horse.
I don't know, but she used to scare me. Now I just hold her and I talk to her, and she stops.
Yeah, well, that's good. Maybe that she just needs a little reassurance and a bit of comfort.
But I'm afraid sometime that I won't be here, and something will scare her, and she falls right over.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. The best bet, obviously, is to check with the vet, and, as you already have, and see what the vet might suggest. I really don't. I've never come across that problem, so I would have no idea.
Well, who knows? Maybe somebody that's listening has Boston Terriers.
Yeah, you know what you're doing now? You're opening the lines for 9,000 people to call up with their treatments for dogs, and it's going to go on for days.
Days, huh?
Yeah.
What a way to end the year.
No, but I would think the best bet really is to go to somebody who really knows, and that would be a vet. Maybe I'm sure there are people listening. Maybe they very well know too, but
yeah,
a vet, somebody who really deals with animals and is sharp about them.
Well, I've done a lot of talking and networking, I guess they call it.
We call it networking. We kids call it that. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not too much younger than you are.
Oh, be quiet. You're probably a lot older than I am because I'm just a punk kid.
That's right.
Okay. Hey, listen, let me get a little long because I want to get to some other calls, but one was Sounds in the Night, the jazz show on WHDH. Right. Then I went on days and did some comedy stuff during the day on HDH. That was fun, too. And the third part that I've loved is what I'm doing now. I never thought I'd still be in the business after all these years, sitting around all night and talking silly. But I love this. I love doing this kind of stuff, too.
You can't imagine how you keep me entertained, because I'm a night person and I do most of my household type work, whether painting walls or cooking cookies or whatever late at night.
No kidding.
And you keep me awake to do it.
That's very, very nice of you to say that, Elaine. I'm very pleased about
I love
that.
It. What I called for was,
yes.
I have, a while back on your radio program, you had talked about old-time radio, and there was a group that restored old radios.
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to know how to get in touch with them. The reason I say that, I have two floor model radios that are the tube type. They were working a while back, but the cords on them have now disintegrated, so I can't plug them in.
No, there are people who do restore old radios, and as a matter of fact, there's a group called the New England Antique Radio Club.
Okay.
And they have a publication, and in it they have ads for people who restore radios or find your old radios and all that kind of stuff. Could you do me a favor? Could you send me a note?
Sure.
And mention that, and I'll either send you the original newsletter from the New England Antique Radio Club, or I'll make a copy of it with the ads in there, so that you can see who to call for restoring. But there are people that do that.
I hate to just throw them out because I'm sure.
No, they're kind of precious, and you can't replace them.
Right. One has the green eye on it. Do you remember the green eye?
That sounds like a Zenith, but I'm not sure about that.
I think one of them is a Sears and Roebuck model, and the other one is a General Electric, GE.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there were some lovely radios. The museum in Lexington at one point had an exhibit of old-time radio. They used to make them in various kinds of shapes and all kinds of things. Anyway, I've got to get going now.
Okay.
Because we got news coming up. But send me a note, okay?
Okay. The other thing I have is old piano rolls, original piano rolls. Probably go back to the 1920s.
Sounds good.
Christmas tree shops, because right now all Christmas items are on sale at all Christmas tree shops for 50% off. That's right, 50% off.
Somehow she got a picture of me when I was, I think, about 7 years old, even younger than the period I'm talking about. And I want to tell you, come closer. This is going to sound like bragging.
Okay.
I don't want everybody to hear me bragging.
Okay.
But I thought I was absolutely adorable. I would have loved to have a son who looks just like that. I don't look anything like that anymore, so I'm really not adorable. But it was a cute little picture then. You have little baby pictures of you two where you look at it and you say, Kristen, I can't believe that is me, and I look just so cute.
Absolutely.
What?
I
imagine you have stacks of them probably all over the house.
Albums and albums full.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You should take that picture of you and get it redone and reprinted and give that out when people ask you for your picture.
I might just do that. It has been redone. That's the whole thing. A lot of those pictures, obviously they go back, and when you're talking 70 years of age, that goes back a lot of years. But one of our friends is a photographer, and he took the picture and cleaned it up and all that, and then printed a copy of it. And the picture's so adorable. It's hard to believe that anybody ever looked like that at that time. When you're looking at a picture of yourself as a baby, it's hard to identify with it. What am I talking about? Do you have any idea, Kristen?
I'm trying to follow you.
Okay.
Oh, dear. Oh, you're so cute, Norm.
I think we've milked that subject enough. We get on to something else, Kristen.
Okay. So I'm glad you had a nice Christmas.
I did have a nice Christmas, and I suspect you did too. Did you?
Yes, I did a lot of baking now. I never stopped baking.
Are you really a good cook, and you do a lot of that?
Yeah, I try. I think so, yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, cookies and cupcakes and things like that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Nothing too fancy.
No, that's wonderful. My youngest daughter, knowing that, I live alone now, it's so sad, and that I'm not a cook. A little few things here or there. For Christmas, gave me a whole basket full of things that she had cooked.
Oh.
And I thought that was kind of nice. That kind of gift is really special. Do you cook like cookies and give them as gifts to other people?
Well, not as gifts, but, I bring them for the relatives and they have them. Just like that.
Well, because that is a gift, and that is very, very nice when it's something that you do yourself, whether it's that or whether it's knitting a sweater or crocheting something or other. I think something that you do yourself is an especially nice gift.
We got a basket of homemade fudge. That was good.
Oh, basket of homemade fudge is very good. Oh, that's very, very good.
So on Christmas, I went to my aunt's house in South Weymouth, right?
Yeah.
So, you know how you came on at 7 that night.
Oh, yes.
So when we first got there, I said, attention, everything is going to stop at 7 o'clock p.m.
Oh, they must hate you.
So I brought my little transistor radio with me, and I kept eyeballing the time, and 7 o'clock grew closer and closer, and I had my radio right by me, so I still would miss you, even though I was there.
You know, that is so nice. It's so nice. I'm very flattered by that, but they must have hated your guts.
Well, everyone was saying, what are you listening to? And I say, it's Norm Mason.
And they said, Ron Mason, Ron Macon? Who is that freak?
Yeah, my Uncle Hank knows you because he listens to you when he goes to work at the post office at 4 in the morning.
Oh,
So he knows
that's nice.
you. He hears me once in a while talking to you.
Oh, he must get a kick and says, hey, that's my little niece, my little Kristen. You got a big, your big class, what am I saying, the New Year's planned?
No, not really. Tonight, we're having a little get-together, but not on New Year's, just tonight.
Sounds to me like you hang out with adults all the time. Do you have any friends your age?
Just that I write to his pen pals and, things like that.
Yeah, but done around here that you hang out with?
No, not really.
Really? What? Now, why is that? You find them too immature or something?
No, I just don't go out often. I'm usually in the house.
Oh.
So not really.
But life is still happy and everything okay for you?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, okay, because I worry about you, Kristen.
Oh, yeah.
You should be out there kind of, doing crazy things with kids your own age.
I know. I talk on the phone to them, and I like writing letters, so we write letters. One of my friends in Newton, and the others in Jamaica Plain.
Oh, as far away as that. Wow.
I know.
All distant, exotic lands. I wish you the best. It's always a pleasure to know you, and I hope you have the coming year is really nice for you and your family. And I appreciate knowing you all this time and talking with you.
As long as you're around, Norm, I'll always be happy, and I mean it.
Well, that's a nice thing to say. I think it's
stay where you are.
Well, that's a little wild kind of thing, but I appreciate that. Thanks a million.
And if you don't stay where you are, I'll just have to find you in Middleton.
Oh God, yeah, which wouldn't be hard. There are only about 2 other people who live there.
So I saw your name quoted in the Herald.
Oh, on the Dean Martin desk.
Yeah, my grandmother said, hey, look at this Norm's name. So I looked, and I saw your name there. That was good.
That was okay.
You're famous.
I'm famous, yeah, sure. Hey, thank you very much, Chris. The very best of luck.
Right. That's what
weather
Bruce Wiggle said. He does the forecast. He puts his hand out the window.
Yeah, that's right.
With his thumb and sticks it out the window.
Well, his predictions, he wants to see whether his predictions are coming true.
Right.
And he looked out the window and he said, honey, dear, it's raining. And she said, come on, it can't be raining now. The temperature's much below that. It got to be snow. It can't be rain. And he said, well, you know what I'm leading up to. And he says, it's really weird. The temperature's about 15 above, but that's not snow, that's rain. And she said, I can't believe that. And he said, well, look, now Rudolph the Red knows rain, dear. So that's the same punchline.
I remember a few years ago you rattled off a few good ones.
I can't
remember them.
Well, I used to do a character named Arnold, your beloved storyteller, he used to tell stories for kids in the voice of Mason Adams. He would say, hi, boys and girls, this is Arnold, your beloved storyteller. Will you be quiet while I'm doing shtick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, I remember when you'll know the name, I'm sure. You called yourself something the auctioneer, the swap shop.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was, I forget the name I used. It was my grandmother's maiden name, the last name we used. She had a funny last name. Plute. No, maybe there was another character.
But some of the items you swapped were good. It was like a home buyers network on television.
No, that's right. No, I picked it up. It actually was even before the buyer stuff. It was taken from a program called, I forget, some of the smaller stations, WCCM in Lawrence has one of those things where people call in and swap things. Yeah, it would be somebody wanted to swap. A guy would call in, he wanted to swap his Aston Martin car and some of his treasures.
I'm trying to think of one myself. I'd call in and say, I've just converted to Judaism. I want to swap my rosary beads for a yarmulke.
Oh, yeah, but I never got that.
Oh, I know. You got to be careful.
I wasn't going to fool around with that.
Woody Allen had a scene in the movie, something like that. He goes down to the store 24, and he's engaged to Diane Keaton, and she's Irish-American Catholic.
Yeah.
Woody Allen's is Jewish in the movie. And he rushes down to store 24 because he's going to go to classes to be converted to Catholic by an Irish-born priest with a brogue. And he goes in there quickly, and he says, I'll have a bag of potato chips and a 6-pack of Coca-Cola and a crucifix. And the guy behind the counter says, "We have everything you need at store 24."
That's a funny idea.
But anyways, I underlined that word icon on the Herald, and they didn't throw the paper out when I was through it. I brought it home. I said, I got to look this one up.
Okay, and I appreciate you pointing that out.
It was a nice column, though.
I bet some of that information still applies today. And if so, I hope you found it useful. Again, lots of credits to get to, so let's close the vault and leave this world a little sillier than we found it. For Borders, Barnes & Noble, B. Dalton, Rotary, the Lions Club, the Elks Club, Job Searches, Scholarships, the National Scholarship Research Service, Brandon Toropov, Dan Cassidy, 303 off-the-wall ways to get a job, the Scholarship Book, the Worldwide Graduate Scholarship Directory, the Worldwide College Scholarship Directory, AMC, Remember When, Endowments, Philanthropy, Left-Handed Jewish Orphans, Earthwatch Expeditions, the Music Educators National Conference and their Music Scholarship Guide, Tip Sheets, Left-Handed Heavyset Single Moms, Canadian Brothers, New England Car Stereos, Noah Beery, Shayna Holland, Sunflower the Horse, Horse Massage, and Chiropractic, The Last Old Hen in the Henhouse, Newfies, The Christmas Tree Shops,